everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Building an AI-Powered Workforce, How to Upskill Your Team for Immediate ROI with Faye and Section. My name is Sierra McNeely, VP of Marketing here at Faye, and I will be your moderator during today's presentation. A few housekeeping notes. This call is being recorded. If you do not agree to being on the call, please leave. Additionally, if you have any questions during our presentation, feel free to pop them into the chat, and one of our moderators will get back to you towards the end of the webinar. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speakers. We have Jason Green, President and Chief AI Strategy Officer here at Faye. Jason is a tech-savvy entrepreneur with 20+ years in CRM and customer experience, known for building impactful solutions across mid-market, enterprise, and public sectors. We have Greg Shove, CEO of Section. He's a seasoned entrepreneur and former exec at Apple, AOL, and Sun, and is now leading AI-era business education. He is also the founder of Machine & Partners, an AI lab building custom AI applications. And David Pascal, he is the Senior Director of Data and AI at Faye. He leverages over a decade of startup and enterprise AI experience to turn complex business challenges into scalable, data-driven solutions. For those of you who are unfamiliar with who Faye and Section is, Faye is a leading expert in deploying and extending sales, service, marketing, and AI solutions in North America, helping mid-market organizations thrive, grow, and succeed. Section is an AI workforce transformation company that helps individuals and teams turn AI curiosity into real ROI-driven impact across their daily work. Before we jump into the meeting, we're going to go ahead and share a quick poll. If you all could just take a few moments to go ahead and answer this. We are curious and wondering where everyone on the call is at in their AI journey. So perhaps you haven't started thinking about AI, you're just starting to explore basic tools. Maybe you started testing AI, maybe you're invested in AI and you're already optimizing, or AI is part of your core strategy. If you would just take a moment to fill that out, and then we'll go ahead and share the results. All right. And it looks like here, great. A lot of you, it looks like you are invested in AI and optimizing. So, feel free to pop any questions you have during this presentation into the chat, and we will be happy to answer those towards the end. I'm now going to hand things over to Jason Green. He will be taking over the floor. Jason, it's all yours.
All right. Thanks, Sierra. All right. So I like to start with asking the group and to get everybody thinking about, what you believe in regards to AI. There's a lot of information out there, a lot to read about, a lot everyone's hearing. I mean, my laundry machine has a button that says AI. I don't really know what that means. And so it's important to kind of decide what you believe. Do you think this is basically overblown? It's hype? Okay, that's one viewpoint. Do you feel it's more like the cloud computing in 2010, where we went from on-premise cloud computing or on-premise computing solutions into cloud computing solutions, and that kind of whole transformation for organizations? Or do you believe it's something a bit more profound, such as 1994, right before the internet really came to be? And that brought with new business models and new types of markets. Think Uber coming out of taxis, think Netflix coming out of Blockbuster. These type of things were not possible prior to the internet. And for some of us, you might believe it's more like 1882, where the first homes in the United States were wired for electricity, and the world after electricity versus before electricity are just so different that if that's what it is, it could get pretty crazy pretty fast. And it's important as an organization that you get your executive leadership aligned on what everybody is believing, because that's going to massively help in terms of how you approach this organizationally. Okay, all right. So a lot of organizations, a lot of people I talk to with our clients, executive teams, there's a lot of interest in AI, but there's a lot of challenges. We're seeing situations where organizations are simply they're falling short in terms of how they're even recruiting the talent that's required to do AI, to lead AI initiatives. Most organizations are still in quite early stages of AI transformation. Many of them just doing basic experimentation and testing. And then we're also seeing the majority organizations just not being able to support significant level of business value from all the time and energy that they're putting into it. A big a big area that we look at and we talk to business owners and executives about on a regular basis is just around the staff itself. Because AI is so new and some people view it as a technology, we tend to look at it more as a changing the very nature of work. It's important that knowledge workers that really the whole staff has at least a basic understanding of what AI is and what it can do for the company. And for most, the workforce is especially green when it comes to understanding AI. Um, so instead of looking at this as a technology project or a set of tools, we start with strategy and posture. Uh, as I mentioned, we view it as a pretty profound change in society and changing the very nature of work, which means you have to look at your organizational chart, or if you're running something like EOS, your accountability chart, you have to look at the architecture of how you have the company structured in terms of what roles and seats and the people in it. And you have to ask yourself the question, how many of these roles are going to have digital agents that fill them in the next 12 to 24 months or even the next 6 months? And how should the org chart, the architecture of the org chart look like when you have the ability to provide, account managers and customer service reps with digital agents and executive assistants that effectively report to them? And it really starts there at the top and making sure that you have you're thinking through this versus just thinking about it as a technology that you have to implement or a project. And then thinking through just all the different processes across the business to understand where potentially you could bring AI in to augment what you're doing and provide business value. Another critical area to think about from the beginning is around culture and values, um, and making sure the team is aligned. We're seeing that a lot of organizations, there is fear among staff. There's concern that AI is going to eliminate their jobs, and it's important to come in from a cultural perspective and the values in your organization to show across the workforce that you're investing in AI not to eliminate jobs, but to augment and make each of the people in your organization a superhero in their role. And that's really important because if everybody's not aligned on the potential value and what AI brings to the table, there'll be resistance and fear, and you're not going to get as far along the AI transformation journey as you otherwise could. One of the things we've done here at Fay is we've put together um, what is effectively an open letter that's external and internal. And I'll show that in a few seconds, kind of declaring that we are an AI first organization, which I think is really important from a cultural perspective, from a values perspective. The other two areas that you should consider when thinking about strategy and posture are unified language. Does everyone know what an LLM is? Or is everyone talking about RAG the same way? Prompt analysis, prompt engineering, AI orchestration, the agentic layer, agentic portal, et cetera, et cetera. Does everyone across the company even understand how to talk about AI and the things that it can possibly do? And then finally, how does this fit in to security and compliance? When smartphones first became prevalent, they became across, society. Oftentimes IT departments were like, "Oh, you can't use your personal phone at work," but people were bringing their own phone and using it anyway. So even if you tell people, "Hey, you can't just use AI," they're going to use the various GPT, Claude, LLM tools on their own. And so having policies in place and ensuring people are trained on where and when not to, put company data in and what kind of ways you could safely use AI and around that is really, 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 really important. And these are really core starting steps to get going. So this is just again that I do recommend putting together a open letter that is internal and external, and it really just helps to show that you are leading your organization into the future, into the AI, within the AI era, and embracing it wholeheartedly. Another area that's super important is around education and learning. Because AI is in many ways different than other things you've done because it changes work, it changes how you think about roles, it changes how you think about interfacing with computers. It's very different interfacing with technology when you're using natural query languages and you can just talk to AI and it can go and do things. Whereas before you would need to use SQL or code or put things in a form a certain way. It changes it. And so it's really important that you yourself get as educated as you can, you learn as much as you can, you get proficient on AI, and it's also important your leadership team. Everyone on your leadership team gets proficient, learns AI, because the more that you're learning about, the more you understand what's possible. And then also once ready, getting your entire team enabled to be AI proficient at a basic level is super important. I mean, if we think back to 1994, and everyone now knows how to use the internet, knows how to use these tools. In a similar way, the whole company needs to learn at a basic proficiency what is going on with AI. And then part of the learning is also experimentation, trying various multi-modalities of tools from AI cloning your voice to video to images and movie creation. All of these things start to teach you what's possible. It also starts to help you understand how do you prompt, how do you interface um, with agents now and in the future. One of the things oftentimes I see is people it's somewhat overwhelming. People realize, hey, there's all this light, and now we have to turn this light, which is AI, into a laser that can cut steel. And so, how do you kind of go from, okay, we believe this is at least as profound as the internet to actually doing something that's producing business value in a short time span? And AI projects tend to be a bit different than traditional tech projects. If you implement an ERP and you get to 80%, you don't really have anything. But with AI, you might have a project where you predict you could take something from 100 hours down to 5. And if you get half of the way there, that's still highly valuable, which is why proofs of concepts and prototyping is really important across a variety of different potential use cases with AI in your organization. And it's really good idea to do these proof of concepts with specific processes where you can measure it. And I gave an example, 100 hours to 5 hours. There's lots of other ways that you have very um, discrete points of measurement that you can use when testing out a variety of use cases. And then as you do that proof of concept, you can then move that into a more production ready state and deal with the technology and orchestrations required behind the scenes. I've seen some people get a little kind of turned off by AI because they're worried about security or data privacy, and you can do proof of concept. Don't let that stop you from doing proof of concepts, because all of the normal questions around PII data or certain security requirements, it can all be applied to all of the technology associated with AI. So to recap here, adopting an AI strategy and posture is critical. Educate, learn, and do proof of concepts. These are three really core areas to really get going on your AI journey. And on the left, you can see here, I mean, capturing value is hard from AI, and you have to really think through all of these different pieces. And this is listed just some of them. There's obviously more, but you have to have a strategy around how your organization is going to do all these things, how you're going to execute, and find value from that. Oops. Useful to think about it as navigating a journey. It's an iterative process. I always like to think about these maturity frameworks kind of like fashion. Fashion doesn't end. And so AI is not something that's just going to end. You don't just get to, okay, now we do AI. And it will take you time, and you just keep iterating and build off previous things you've done. And so we're here obviously to help anyone on this journey. And this is really important. Everyone needs to remember AI is the worst it's ever going to be. And so when you're doing something with AI and you're like, "Ah, it's not there yet, or it's kind of there," just remember this can change a week from now. These models are changing so quickly, the technology is changing so quickly that you need to build up that muscle memory. You need to be doing things, because something that was kind of there 30 days from now might really be there. And just to remember, this is an AI generated image, which you cannot discern. And so just images alone, how far they've come, it's just going to keep getting more and more advanced. To kind of cap it all up, in terms of what we believe, we really believe that if you're embracing AI, you're going to have a competitive advantage organizationally, because if you don't embrace it, and you don't do it fast enough, one of your competitors will, or another company in an adjacent or different industry will, and suddenly will be able to compete in your space in a way that could be significantly more competitive than you're currently operating at. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Greg.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you inviting us, Section, and me to join today. And also love, Jason, the way you've self-named yourself, or self-appointed yourself, I guess, Chief AI Officer or Chief AI Strategy Officer. I think that's a really sort of the right thing to do. And whether it's sort of in your job title or in your LinkedIn profile, or you just raise your hand inside your organization and say you want to lead AI efforts, I think it's so important that some of us step forward in this moment and lead and help the organization figure this out. And of course, Faye, and by extension, Section is there for you as well if you need some help. I'm not going to spend much time talking about Section, obviously, so I'm going to go fast through these slides, and certainly this slide. The one thing to know about Section is we have about 100 customers of different sizes, companies as customers. And so we have a lot of experience deploying AI and training workforces on AI that we can bring to bear for Faye and Faye's customers. This memo kind of got leaked and has been making the rounds in Silicon Valley recently, the last couple of weeks. This is Toby Lutke. He's the CEO of Shopify. Shopify is obviously a big company, 8,000 employees, $8 billion in revenue. So, but I think typical of the mindset of CEOs these days, certainly in Silicon Valley, but I think it's spreading really everywhere, which is he expects employees to be AI first or AI enabled. And they're doing things at Shopify, including putting in AI proficiency as part of the annual review process for Shopify employees, and also headcount requests for more headcount can't be submitted unless you can demonstrate that the AI cannot do the work. So this is, I think, the world we're about to live in, as Jason said, where we really will be working alongside AIs. We need our employees to know how to do that. I agree with Jason that AI is in some ways very complex. How do you turn light into lasers, and how do you build prototypes and deploy AI prototypes? The good news is the other side of that coin, though, is AI in some ways is quite easy. Meaning, if you deploy a good off-the-shelf AI, something like ChatGPT Plus or Microsoft Copilot Pro or Claude from Anthropic or Google Gemini Pro 2.5, these are all recent state-of-the-art AIs. They cost $20 a month approximately for your teams, $20 to $30 a month. They're very powerful. And if you train your teams on how to use these AIs, you're going to get a lot of almost immediate benefit. So that's the good news. AI is complicated. AI is not like other software. It does change a lot. As Jason said, we're using the worst version of our AIs today. They're only going to get better. They do create anxiety and concerns around, will AI take my job? And they can do a lot, which is a good and bad thing. If you think about almost all the other software we use, it's software optimized to do one thing, typically CRM or ERP or whatever it might be, right? AI has got this sort of crazy ability to do almost anything as it relates to language. That could be software coding, that could be creating videos, creating images, as Jason showed, or just helping you work on a marketing deck or a go-to-market strategy. So that can be it's a strength and a weakness, because I think it does confuse employees. Like, when should I use AI? The answer is really most of the time. And so AI is a very effective thought partner, cognitive coworker, if you will, for I think almost all of us in any role inside our organizations. And the way you unlock that initial capability is really just to train people, to lower their anxiety, raise their proficiency, and give them the skills they need, which is probably accomplished in a couple hours. It's not, you don't need 10 hours, in terms of learning or upskilling. You need a 2 to 3, maybe if you're, fast learner, 1 hour of specific AI training. The challenge is no one's really getting that training, or very few people are. Companies are deploying AI, something like ChatGPT. At my company at Section, we use ChatGPT for Teams, so we pay the extra $5 a month. It's $25 a month versus $20, but we get enhanced security in terms of our data, so that's worth it. But the reality is most organizations aren't doing enough training, so I think it's a good place to start. And it's not just for big companies. Sure, big companies can afford to train and can afford to deploy AI, but so can small companies. At our company at Section, we only have 30 employees, but everybody uses AI every day. We probably use 2 to 3 AIs every day, the big popular AIs. One is enough, though, if you train people. So I don't think all the gains of AI, should come just to big organizations. I think startups, small companies, owner-operated businesses, mid-sized firms, we can all get the same leverage and same advantage from AI. We just need to train people. Here's how I think you should think about your training. Whether you get it from Section or you get it, from YouTube or, Coursera, I don't think it matters. Meaning, do something, enable your employees to use these AIs. I would think about it as train everybody on what we would consider foundational AI skills. That is basically how to prompt, how to have a conversation with your AI. We have to teach our employees, excuse me, this is not Google, it's not search. It is this new thing. You have a conversation. You have to learn how to really push your AI, how to upload your content, maybe your data, maybe your deck, maybe your memo, whatever it might be, and have this conversation with AI, improve the quality of your output. You should, I think, also teach them around responsible usage, and you might have your own AI policies. For example, what data they can talk to AI with, and what data, maybe financial data, they can't talk to the AI about. So you're going to want to establish that policy, as Jason said, and use a version of his memo. I think is a great idea. Sort of your AI manifesto, maybe internally, which would include like the rules of the road. So train people on basic and intermediate prompting, how to have a conversation with AI. Train them about your AI policy or rules, and frankly, let it rip. Encourage them to use AI so they can get this productivity gain, because there are significant gains to be had. Here's the consensus across all of our customers at Section who are deploying AI. And again, these are from small organizations to very large. The consensus is about minimum in 12 months, a 10% productivity gain for people who sit at a keyboard and do basically knowledge work. So whether they be software engineers or marketers, salespeople, inside salespeople, even finance and HR, everybody's seeing a pretty good lift within 12 months. It'll be as much as 25% in certain teams. Certainly marketing is getting a lot of benefit from AI. Software engineering is getting a lot of benefit. In fact, much more than 25%. So it'll be different by team, but you're going to get these gains, I think, quickly if you train people and if you encourage them to use AI. And encourage means you've got to use it yourself, as Jason said. Start with yourself, train yourself, and to use your AI, and also remind your team that using AI is not cheating. We have a lot of deeply held beliefs about work, right? We use expressions like "don't cut corners" or "hard work is a virtue," or we have all these beliefs about work. And I think AI in some ways challenges those beliefs. And as a leader, you need to sort of, break through that, right? Get people to know that using AI is smart. It doesn't mean you can't do it yourself. It doesn't mean you need the help. It means you're working smarter. It's not cutting corners. It's not cheating. It's actually working smart, getting faster to a higher quality output. Then after you've laid the foundation of these skills, definitely you want to train on specific functional skills. And that's where you can help people find their use cases. So at Section, we built a curriculum that would be this foundational skills, and then we started to build courses, and they're offered live or asynchronously around AI for marketing, AI for writing, AI for sales, and so on. So for specific functions and specific jobs, we teach people how to get value from the AI even faster. So this would be what I would suggest as a smart way to approach your training challenge. The last thing I wanted to mention is we are launching an AI-powered coach. What's amazing about AI is you can interact with it in natural language, and the AI can respond to who you are and what it knows about you. So it has amazing potential for learning, for upskilling. So in addition to offering our curriculum in a traditional online learning format, meaning video, live or asynchronous, traditional online learning, we're now offering an AI coach. He, I don't know how you refer to it. It's called Prof AI, and it will teach you all the same things that we teach you via our video-based learning curriculum, but it will personalize, because you will tell Prof AI who you are and the role that you work in what company. And then it'll take all of the kind of curriculum that we've built, but instead it will deliver it to you in this new format, which is a conversation with AI. So Prof AI is an AI application. You tell it who you are, the job you're in, the company you work for, the country or the state or city that you live in even, and right away, Prof AI will teach you how to prompt, how to use AI responsibly, how to find your best use cases, because it knows who you are. And so it ends up being a very personalized, interactive, and rich learning experience. So we like to offer all modes of learning to our clients and their employees, and they'll pick what they're most comfortable with. I think over time, though, these kinds of learning experiences, these AI-generated learning experiences like Prof AI, are going to be the way we learn in the future, because the exercises and the assessments and so on that the learning can offer can be, as I said, can be personalized to your company and your individual. So the good news is AI is complex and challenging and changing and a little scary at times, but it also is, you can get started fast. an hour or two of training, and your employees will start to see within days benefit. And by the way, we're seeing this in terms of AI use at home. The AI use in our personal lives, is skyrocketing. ChatGPT will get to 1 billion users this year. By far the fastest technology ever to get to 1 billion users. It took Apple 10 years to get to 200 million iPhone users. So this is really growing quickly, and it's a lot of personal use. Now we have to take that fascination and interest in using AI and bring it to our workplace to get these productivity gains. And we can, and I know you can.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. So Greg and Jason both covered a lot of, I think, great content around, number one, how do you level up the knowledge of your team? And then how do you build an AI strategy that's really going to work for you? So I wanted to share a couple of examples of if you invest in doing those things and in leveling up the knowledge of your team, getting the right infrastructure in there, getting the right thought process and the right strategy, some of the results that you can see are incredible. One of those in particular is, worked in the past with a Fortune 500 group benefit insurer. They had a massive project, and for anyone in the insurance space, banking space, even healthcare space, even more traditional things like manufacturing, your life is in documents. And so if you get to this point where you're able to deploy AI and wield it, you can get to situations like this where you've got millions and millions of dollars in revenue that's lost because maybe you're sending out paper forms, they're coming back, they're incorrect, you're either missing premiums, or you're finding situations where you're just not able to service your clients appropriately. Jason touched on this a little bit earlier, but if you're not willing to make those investments and develop and change over time, you won't be able to see all of these benefits that you see on the screen here. And not only that, your competitors are going to be the ones taking the strides to do this. So once you get that strategy and that knowledge in place, you can start building these blocks to bigger and bigger projects where you're starting to do automated user verification. You're able to, within the flow, validate information that's being provided, and then also utilize the AI engine to evaluate that data that's being shared so you can streamline a lot of your backend processes as well. What that results in is, again, millions of dollars in additional revenue, huge decrease in your cost to service customers, and then overall just a better experience. And as you know, here on the left, there's a lot of different softwares that can power that. So if you're using something that's embedded into your existing offering, let's say you're using Sales Cloud or Service Cloud, you can use Agentforce on top of it through Salesforce, but you can still use traditional REST APIs. You have your own backend systems, weave those into the mix, use things like Twilio for communication so that you can engage with clients over text message. AI can be woven into each of these different pieces in a lot of different creative ways. Another example of that, and that's not to say, you have to be this older industry where you got paper forms and it's complex. Even companies that are more modern, that are built in the cloud, are also seeing opportunities to use AI in their flows. Well, in this case, this is a online food delivery platform in Canada. They had a huge lead time. Whenever someone would come to their website, a new restaurant owner would say, I'm going to fill out this form. Here's all my information. Then they have to digitize their menu into the system and go on the onboarding and configure everything. On average, that was taking about 24 days. We were able to reduce that by over 75%. And in a lot of cases, have a fully touchless onboarding where they don't even have to talk to anyone. And that can be simple things like do we just take that form, validate the information, and then create them and have this kicked off process that's fully automated? Or even within that, can someone do something like upload their current menu, just take a photo of it, analyze it, and then optimize it for them rather than them having to manually build it? Again, working with modern technologies that they already have, these are things that once you've got a plan, once you've got a strategy and the skills to do it, you can go and leverage the things that you're already using and get more out of them, which drives more revenue, cuts your costs, and increases your overall customer experience. One of the things that Fay offers to help on that front, and I think Jason touched on this earlier, which I think is really, really important, there's a lot of opportunity to POC this, to test things out, to trial things, and see them before you have to go and do these massive projects, which, by the way, are getting smaller and smaller because of the proliferation of AI. They're not as complex as they used to be because AI is more adaptive to it. But in the case that you want to be able to test out certain scenarios, or you want to be able to control that access to the AI, as Greg mentioned across his team, being able to have a singular view where you can get access for everyone and build out these agents and share your knowledge and your learnings, that's where you can leverage something like our AI portal, which gives you the ability to have one single view where you're managing all of your users. You create the agents, you develop the prompts, you connect to whatever models you want to use on the back end, if it's OpenAI, if it's Anthropic, if it's Google Gemini, you can pick and choose. You bring those in here, and then you can create all of that. We also have options for managing it through regulatory compliance. So if you have HIPAA requirements, FedRAMP requirements, this is where you can add a tool to your tool belt pretty easily and simply, and then give that access to all of your users. And one question I usually ask people is, do you currently have something like this? And if I get the answer of no, let me tell you, if you're not giving something like this to your employees today, they're finding it, they're using it on personal devices, they're finding other ways to get access and to test it out. And that's, like Greg said, that's not a bad thing that they're engaging with it. It's not cheating. It's something that's going to be very, very significant in helping them be more efficient at their jobs. So this is the best path. Getting something like this is the best path to having that controlled environment, because people are going to go search for these things anyways. Now, the way we approach overall these projects at Fay is through a number of different things. I talked about, I think Section is a great resource for building out your strategy, building out your knowledge, starting to get a clear understanding of who has what skills and what sort of approaches should we take. Then there's tools like the AI portal that I just showed you that can give those direct access points to your employees and to those people who are going to be managing AI. And then there's expertise. So being able to come in and have someone who's done it before, who knows how to orchestrate everything and how to really evaluate what are the projects that we should go after and which ones maybe are not as prioritized because they're not as feasible, or they just simply don't have enough return on investment for us. Now, we have a lot of frameworks that can help with that, where we go through, we help identify projects, prioritize them, pilot them out, sometimes using our AI tool as well, our AI portal, where you can test the assumptions before you wire everything and make it a big project. Then you can determine, is this something that I think is feasible, that is going to get that return that we're expecting? Or is it something that maybe we table for now and we just go test the next one? And then that's where you can get to the full rollout and you can see those sorts of returns. And so I think every single AI project requires that strategy. It requires the right tools and the right expertise in order to support it. And that's something that I think, in combination with Fay, with Section, with others, that's something that you can bring into the fold to help you launch a lot of these projects as a lot of people are starting to wade out into the wide ocean of AI. So some common questions that we wanted to touch on as well, because I think there's some common notions that come up when talking about AI that I think people are still looking for a clear answer for. One of those in particular is with cost reduction and really time savings. People across the board are saying AI is going to help you save time, hire less, do all these things to reduce your cost. But ultimately, what I'm hearing from a lot of people that I work with is, oh, well, actually, I don't care so much about just limiting the time that we spend on it. I want to know, what are we doing to be more productive with that time? And so, what are some of the other less obvious but potentially very significant benefits that AI can give beyond just that cost reduction? And what I say to that is, when implemented correctly, AI is really transformative. You should be thinking about it not just from, hey, this project's been stuck, I need to accelerate it with AI, or, these tasks take me so much more time, and with AI, it's going to reduce the operating cost or reduce the headcount required to do it. It's about what you do with those gains. And we've seen AI help companies get insights into their data that they didn't have before, improve their access to those siloed knowledge sources that they may have, increase their focus on their higher value projects, and then provide customer experiences that they've really always wanted to. Nothing new there, but AI has unlocked a lot of that potential to go after things that are not just cost savings or time savings. Another thing that comes up, I think Jason did a great job addressing this, but what are some of the legal and regulatory implications that we have to worry about when using AI, and how do we stay compliant? The best thing that you can do, honestly, is to take action right now, because AI is no longer an if or a when, it's happening right in front of our eyes. So the longer you take to establish your strategy, including considerations for what data you allow into those AI models, how it's hosted, how you're controlling access, the more likely it becomes that people in your organization are unknowingly risking that information that they're putting into those models by trying to figure it out on their own. So it's up to you and your leadership team to figure out a strategy that's going to work for your employees, that gives them access to leverage AI, but also de-risks that component of, hey, my data is going to be going outside my walls or outside my doors. I think very, very similar parallels to what we saw with the cloud computing revolution that Jason talked about. And then the last question that comes up often is, what are some of the best practices for running pilot AI projects, and how can we measure that success? The key to running AI pilot projects is, first, you just need a framework. So you need a way to evaluate what your projects are going to be doing in terms of impact, how feasible they are, and how urgently they need to be addressed. Once you have that framework and you can help prioritize your projects, then go right into testing. Find a way to test out those theories, go and see what adoption can look like, see what impact can look like through a pilot. And the beauty of what AI offers right now is, because there's so many different tools and so many people diving into it right now, you can focus on testing the outputs of these AI models in a very quick pilot and see how they fare against your expectations before doing these fully integrated automated projects. So it's like, if I'm going back to the examples that I used before, if we're ingesting a bunch of documents in, and then we have to analyze them and extract information and then put them into our CRM or our order management system or whatever we're using on the back end, let's focus less about the intake and the output, and let's focus about what is that meat in the middle, and how can I test this engine and see how fast it's going to be on the track without having to build the car around it. So it's a really great way of being able to utilize AI very quickly in a scalable fashion without having to do the whole project just to see what the outcome would be. And to wrap everything up, I think we've covered a lot of details here. Wanted to give some tangible next steps. So with that in mind, I think there's a lot of benefits that Section can provide through their courses, which are offered both live and on demand. Definitely reach out and we can get you set up there. Really excited to see more of Prof AI as well in that coaching aspect. That's really going to level up your team in terms of knowledge. Our AI portal, we can certainly get access for different teams if you want to see how that works with your team, roll it out, test out different models, and really control that in a more consolidated environment rather than having people go out in the Wild West and figure out their own AI solutions. That's certainly something that we can enable. And then with respect to other services that we offer, we have the ability to recommend and implement all kinds of AI tools. I know Jason has spent a lot of time with partners like HeyGen for being able to record and build AI avatars that you can use in promotional videos. We've got a lot of other examples of AI that we work with, even embedded into systems like Zendesk, like Sugar, like Salesforce CRM, ServiceNow. And then we run AI workshops. So if that's assessing where you're at as a company right now, if it's being able to go in and help you build that roadmap and that strategy, mapping these opportunities and being able to prioritize them with a rubric. We offer an AI Quick Start program in order to help you get up and running with that. So those are all of the options. Really appreciate the time today. Definitely reach out if you want to learn more about any of these programs, but wanted to thank Greg Shove from Section for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. And then, of course, Jason as well for sharing your insights from Faye.